The Ohio Harness Horsemen's Association presents Trackside Live. Trackside Live is presented by the Ohio State Veterinary Medical Center. Now let's go trackside to the Delaware County Fairgrounds and your host, Frank Froz.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome to Trackside Live as we begin our 5 days in Delaware. I'm Frank Froz, and alongside me to kick it off as we do every year, the publicity director of the Little Brown Jug, Jay Wolf. And Jay, do you believe it's finally here?
I think I go first because it can only go down from here, right? Or up from here.
No, that's not true. That's not true. No, we bring you here because you are Mr. Little Brown Jug.
Well, I wouldn't
What's
say
the
that.
middle name? Dedication? Is that what it is now?
Yeah.
So that's your mom didn't name you that, but
No,
we've
but,
given that to you, or at least somebody did. So you believe it's finally here?
Oh, it's like Christmas. It's like Christmas Day, but it's a lot of work goes into it, and you're awfully glad when it comes. But then Thursday night around 8:00 at night, you're glad it's over because you can relax a little bit. So.
When do you really start preparing? And I know you do it year round, but there comes a point when you go, okay, it's go time now.
Yeah, August 1st. August 1st, we get through the Hambletonian, and that's when I start doing my top 10 list, and that's when you start finalizing press releases for this and that, because as much planning as you can do earlier in the year, something always seems to go wrong, and something happens, so you end up changing it. So you get it about 90% done, but then it's come August 1st.
Well, the first thing I imagine you look to when you get to this point is weather, and it looks like we are going to have an unbelievable 5 days of weather.
I don't think the concession stand or the souvenir stand is going to sell any umbrellas this week, that's for sure. But I was talking to someone earlier, and I said it could probably rain an inch overnight, and we would wake up the next day and not know it because the ground is so dry right now. It would probably soak it all up. But talked to Greg Kuhn, our track expert, and he says I can always put water on. He goes, I can't take water off. So I'm sure the water truck will be out between every race, but that's not an issue.
79th edition of this race. Amazing that it started so long ago and it just continues to go.
Yep, that's one of the things we hang our hat on is tradition. One track announcer who will remain nameless has pounded his fist on the table and says tradition, 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 and that sort of gets ingrained in all of us. It's a great tradition for the fans, the horsemen, for you and I and Matt and Susan. It's become a tradition for a lot of people in different ways.
Question that has been asked to me a number of times, and I'm going to ask you it. Why Thursday? What was the reasoning back then behind Thursday?
Here's a great trivia question. The first 3 Little Brown Jugs were scheduled for Wednesday. So the first 3 jugs were held on Wednesday. The third one was rained out and pushed to Thursday. So then the third year they had it on a Thursday, and then they said, you know what, everyone left town after the jug, and they still had one more day of racing. So Thursday is our last day of racing, so we moved it to 1950 was the first year it was scheduled and raced on a Thursday. Trivia question, the jug's been raced on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday.
There you go.
I hope we're not racing on Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, if we're racing on there, we're in trouble.
Yep.
The nice thing, though, is Thursday afternoon, the Little Brown Jug is in the spotlight. The only other thing that might be going on is a baseball game, 1 or 2. But other than that, it's the only sporting event in North America.
Yeah, when Joe Neville and Hank Thompson, the founders of the Jug back in the 40s, they were smart and realized you're never going to compete on a Friday night with high school athletics, and they knew Saturday was a religion here in Central Ohio with football. And so, yeah, you're right. We are the only game in town. We are going to be on Fox Sports this year again. So I know that broadcast is like from 4:30 to 7 o'clock at night. So come 7 o'clock, then that's when baseball jumps in. So, yeah, we look and we pick and choose when we race, and we're actually going to do a better job this year of looking to see, okay, Churchill Downs is racing their next race at 4:44, and Belmont is going to, or Aqueduct now is going to race at 4:46. So why are we racing on top of them? So that's why we announced earlier this week we're going to have post time at 11 o'clock. That gives us a little bit more flexibility when we get later in the card.
Do you think that in the future 11 o'clock will be the post times moving forward?
It's been 11, it's been 12, it's been 1, it's been back to 12. So who knows? I know. I mean, we all love a lot of races, but 22 on a day may be a bit much. So we're going to look to see what we can do to not eliminate, but have fewer events when it comes to the condition events and things like that.
This event is a community event. It has been from day one. Why does Delaware continue to embrace this? I mean, you have the parade last Sunday, or a week ago last Sunday, the all-horse parade. Why does this, the high school's named the Pacers. I mean, it's a community event.
Yeah, I always joke. I said we're probably the only town that has a Curly Smart Circle. We have a Mike LaChance Way. We have a Barberry Spur Court. We have an entire subdivision named after the Jug legends, and you can eat at the Brown Jug Grill, and then you can also you can go to the shopping center that has harness horses. The horses on the sign that says "Welcome to Delaware" on our bridge. So, I mean, that was one of the things. I mean, the whole reason the Jug is in Delaware is because of Joe Neville and his love for the city of Delaware, and I think the city's repaying him for that. Way back in the 1908, the fair used to be on the east side of Delaware, and they had a boiler accident where the boiler exploded, so they moved the fair to Powell, Ohio. And as you know, as a Central Ohio, could you imagine if there was a county fair in Powell, Ohio today? They would be complaining about the dust and everything else. But in 1938, Joe Neville says this is ridiculous that the county seat doesn't host a county fair, and so he and a number of his buddies got together, paid the $1 to join the Delaware County Agricultural Society. They went down to the meeting at Powell and they voted, and Joe had enough people behind him to say we're moving it to Delaware. So, I mean, Joe Neville brought the fair back to Delaware in 1938. They had a fair with no permanent structures. It was all tents. There was no racetrack. In 1939, they built the racetrack, and the rest they say is history.
Speaking of permanent structures, the grandstand has gone under some more work this past year, and it looks pretty nice.
You won't see a lot. I mean, when folks show up, they're going to say, oh, my gosh, it's completely different. But state of Ohio has given the Delaware County Agricultural Society $2.5 million for renovation of the grandstand. We have I'm not on the fair board, so when I say we, it's the fair has some folks coming in, some design firms that are going to spend the week here and talk to the patrons and walk around and see the flow. So it might not look the same next year when you come. We're gonna move some things around. We're gonna work on handicap accessibility, which I know is a big thing. We're looking at possibly having a platform up there where we'll have some tabletops, so it'll be more like a bar area with TVs and that kind of stuff. So, as they say, who knows what's going to happen? So,
well, it looks pretty nice. The track looks in great condition. The fairgrounds are looking well. We're going to take a break right now. When we come back, we're going to talk about the honorees this year that the Little Brown Jug will be honoring when we return to the Delaware County Fairgrounds and Trackside Live.
At Ohio State's Galbraith Equine Center, our veterinary champions are here for your champions 24/7, 365 days a year. Our expert team of boarded surgeons, sports medicine and rehabilitation specialists, together with veterinary cardiologists, internal medicine, and ophthalmologists, make our hospital your best resource for all sport horse performance issues. The Ohio State Veterinary Medical Center's Galbraith Equine Hospital. Call us today at 614-292-6661.
With more than 300,000 horses in Ohio, the economic impact of the equine industry in the state is over $2.8 billion. Much of that value comes from standardbred horse owners, breeders, trainers, and drivers who participate in the sport of harness racing. The mission of the Ohio Harness Horsemen's Association is to preserve, protect, promote, and serve the entire standardbred industry in Ohio and beyond. To learn more about the Ohio Harness Horsemen's Association, go to ohha.com. That's ohha.com.
Welcome back to the Delaware County Fairgrounds and Trackside Live. I'm Frank Froz, along with Publicity Director of the Little Brown Jug, Jay Wolf. And one of the great traditions of the Little Brown Jug is you honor people, you have awards, you have the log cabin. Let's first talk about that log cabin. You did some work in the log cabin this past last couple of weeks. It looks really nice.
Some people might not like what we did, but we did it. About 3 weeks ago, on a Saturday, we showed up at the crack of dawn, and we took everything off the wall. And we had tables there, and I think we had 8 tables that were covered with stuff. And we patched all the holes, painted all the white areas, and we hung things back up. but about 60% of the things that we took down made it back up. The other 40% are now in the basement, and we're going to take inventory. We want to turn it into more of a museum, and there was some areas there was no rhyme or reason, and I think anything someone brought in, they said, oh, here's a 6 square inches that doesn't have anything, let's put it up. And so we took everything down, and we're going to work on little plaques that say what the picture is all about. Not everyone knows that 1965 was Brett Hanover, and this was, Frank Irvin, and this was the post position draw for the 67 Jug, and it was won by so we're taking our time. Every year when the driver wins, we put a giant picture up on the wall. Well, we had about 55 pictures, and we're starting to run out of room, so we worked with Ed Powers of RB Powers in Ashley, Ohio, and we did smaller plates with the drivers' photos. And so if and when David Miller wins his next one, we'll just unscrew his plate, take it off, and put a new one up, and we think it'll look really nice.
We're busy.
Yeah.
We're over here the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Does the log cabin get a lot of traffic during the fair? People coming in to look at the exhibits, or do they think it's off limits?
Well, yeah. I mean, it is the race office. So anytime you take entries or pay entry fees, or you need licensed by the Ohio State Racing Commission, you need to make a driver's change. You want to talk to Roger Houston and shake his hand and get him to sign something. We all have our little areas, but no, it's open to the public. I think it closes after the last race. So, but yeah, it's open up at 8:00 in the morning, and it'll be open to the last race. And that is the race office. So if anyone needs anything, come in there, and we invite everyone to come in and look around.
Personally, I think the best part of the whole layout that you have are the winners, the picture, the gloves, the goggles, the whip, autographed. I think the way that is displayed is one of the nicest things in there.
We'll give credit to Tom Wright for that. I think he attacks the driver when they come in the winner's circle and goes, give me the whip or the gloves. We've even got a helmet. We're still trying to figure out how to frame a helmet, but Ron Pierce just says, here, take my helmet. So he signed it and handed it to him.
It's great when they understand the history and can do that for
We're not going to put any pressure, but Scott Zeron didn't give us anything last year. Yeah, so, we might put the hex on Scott because
somebody has to tackle him.
That's true, yeah.
Get him when he comes off.
He won twice. You think he would give us even the Jugette ones? We would, we wouldn't have known the difference.
So you have awards. The biggest one is your Little Brown Jug Hall of Fame honoree. This year, Yannick Gingras.
Yep. We send a ballot. We create a ballot with 4 folks on it for each of our awards. We send it out to all the past award winners, and we do a brief bio. And by far, Yannick was our top vote getter. It wasn't even close. Yannick Gingras, 3-time Jug winner, and all 3 came with Ron Burke horses, and Mickey and Sylvia Burke were in a couple years ago. So it's great to have Yannick in. Yannick started jogging horses and racing 13, 14-year-old in Quebec, and came down to New York, and the rest, as they say, is history. So,
and with the 3, a good year for him to go in too. He had a big win earlier this year.
Yeah, he won the Hambletonian. That was something that is very important to him, and he said he wanted to do it for his kids, which I thought was impressive, because he says every year they get dressed up and come to the Hambletonian, they go home every year disappointed, and he wanted to win one. But if you watch that coverage on Hambletonian Day, it was evident that it was very emotional for Yannick. So
now you'll have a ceremony for him Tuesday night, I believe.
Tuesday evening we have a reception.
A jacket, kind of like the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's tough to find 38 shorts. we have to find a 38 short in the right color. So, the winners get a jacket. We have a big bronze plate that we will be installing underneath the grandstand. They were painting the walls, so I'm not sure when we're going to get that up. But after the race, all 39 of them will be there underneath the grandstand. And we also have the Joe Neville Award. The year Billy Houghton made the Wall of Fame, we made the announcement in June. He passed away in July. Needless to say, that wasn't a very fun year to do our ceremony. So we've sort of had an unwritten rule that we wouldn't honor anybody who had passed. So we created the Joe Neville Memorial Award, and that is for someone who's passed away before we had the chance to honor them. And this year honoree is Hervé Filion, another Quebecan. Another driver, winner of 14,000 races, and he was the leader until Dave Pallone broke his record. He won twice, 71. The great Nan Zaman beat Albatross. I think Albatross won 34 of 36 races and Stanley Dancer made the faux pas saying, my horse could not only fall down once, he could fall down twice and still win the Little Brown Jug. And not many times did Stanley Dancer get booed, but when he came in front of the stands that year, the crowd let him know you didn't take the jug for granted. And Nanzamon beat him in a race-off, which was great. And then he came back in 1979 with Hot Hitter, and right there in the final turn, he decided he was going to be a showman, and he stood on the sulky and came back like a Roman gladiator, waving his whip in the round, and that was one of the louder cheers that anybody returning to a winner's circle ever got.
It's amazing how that has withstood time as one of the great moments of the Little Brown Jug.
Yeah, I mean, I talked to. When Dave Plone broke Hervé's record, Hervé was at the Meadows that day, and Dave Plone got up on the sulky and did the same thing. And he says, I was never so scared. He says, because that's not easy to do. He says, my luck, I was going to fall face first and break something, and Hervé'd be sitting there, and here I'm trying to imitate the legend, you know.
You talked about the both Hervé and Yannick being Canadian. There is a great relationship between this race and Canada.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm chuckling because we received 18 media credentials as soon as it was announced that Jaginski and Legendary Hanover are coming to the Little Brown Jug. So we heard from the Toronto Star and other publications up in Canada. The Trot Magazine sending a group down. So there's obviously, you can walk around the parking lot and count the Ontario plates. And it's there's a great love affair for the sport up there. And we try to repay it, and they have the big race up in June on Father's Day weekend, and the representatives from the Jug go up there and support them. So it's a win-win for both.
And one of the other awards that you're giving out, the Lady Pace Award to Lisa Schwartz, the secretary of the Ohio Colt Racing Association, who does so much for fair racing in the state of Ohio.
Yeah, we just saw Lisa in the log cabin, and I said, oh, the rose petals aren't in yet. It's the throw at your feet when you walk around. Lisa's fabulous. If you've been to any county fair, almost every county fair, she's doing something, whether it's taking the entry or charting or just watching. Lisa does an awful lot. And the Lady Pace, I would like to go on record, ours was before the other Lady Pacing Driving Series, because those two sometimes get mixed up. But we thought it was great. I mean, we've probably for the last 30 years, we've honored, a female in the industry. A lot of times the females, quote, take a back seat to their husbands or their boyfriends or something. But we wanted to bring them up into the forefront. And it started out with Helen Thompson, which was Tommy Thompson, the race director here. His wife, she would go to every race with them, and she would represent the Jug just as well. So, we've had a lot of great ladies, and we're very proud to have Lisa in that group.
Well, Lisa does so much, and she's still embarrassed by the honor, but well deserved.
She when we called to tell her, it was Tom Wright, Tiffany Rankin, and myself. We came up to the log cabin so we could all do it together on video. And she says, something's wrong when the three of you guys are all together on a Tuesday in August. And so we told her, and she says, well, I'll accept it if you put a Cat 5 line in the charter. So it only cost us a Cat 5 line so she could get the comeback sheets done quicker. So I guess if that's what it takes, we ran a 50-foot Cat 5 line. So that means something to somebody. I just wrote it down.
Tell them what you need.
Lisa.
We
promised Lisa a Cat 5.
Well, great. Well, we're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about this year's Little Brown Jug, the 79th edition, right after this.
Cool Winds Farm in Lima, Ohio is a full-service standardbred breeding farm. Cool Winds stands the popular dancing Yankee, a two-time world champion, along with 2019 Jug winner Southwind Ozzie, a son of Some Beach Somewhere. Cool Winds also stands the royally bred $2 million earning Western Fame. Cool Winds Farm wants to thank all the bidders and buyers that supported the Ohio Selected Jug Sale.
The future is bright in Ohio. Ohio Sire Stakes, Buckeye Stallion Series, 66 county and independent fairs. Whether it's the Ohio Sire Stakes, the Buckeye Stallion Series, or the county fairs, Ohio has a place for your racehorse. This year, Ohio breds are racing for nearly $23 million in stakes purses. Be part of the winning. Breed, buy, race, win in Ohio.
Welcome back to the Delaware County Fairgrounds and Trackside Live. I'm Frank Froz, joined by Jay Wolf, and now it's time to talk about the 79th edition of the Little Brown Jug. You put out your top 10 eligibles. Now,
That's
that is
correct.
anybody really is eligible now if they pay the supplement, but you only put horses that have gone through the process.
Yeah, that's right. To get in the Little Brown Jug, you owe $50 when the horse becomes a yearling. You own $250 when it comes 2. You own $750 when it comes 3. So once the February 15th payment comes and I get a list of there's 109 that were paid up and eligible. So about the 1st of May, I look through all 109, go on Pathway, see where they've been, see what they've done, see who owns them, who trains them, and things like that. And based on that information, I have a list of about 30 that I really keep an eye on. So then when I do my first top 10 list, I'll look at all 30 and I rank them A, B, C, and then we go from there. Then I get done and I have 15 A's, and I said, okay, now I have to dwindle them down to 10, and so that's how it's done. That's how the sausage is made.
And you put the first one out after the Hambletonian.
Yeah,
You wait till that's over
absolutely. I mean, it's silly. There's only a few very, very large races in this sport, and it's stupid for me to step on the toes of the Hambletonian, and I hope they would do the same for us. You know, I'm pretty sure that on Wednesday and Thursday, there's not tracks out there putting out that so-and-so won the Open last night. You know, I mean, let's have a little respect for each other, and you know, I don't put anything out until after the Hambletonian.
Now, your top 10 list, I believe the same horse has been at the top from day one, hasn't it?
5 of the 6 weeks.
5 of the 6.
Yeah, Legendary Hanover, I moved that one up after the Meadowlands pace, but then the very next week, or a couple weeks later, lost in the Hemp Memorial. So, and Nijinsky won that same night. So I flip-flopped them. But Nijinsky's been top horse for 5 of the 6 weeks. As you mentioned, Legendary Hanover's the second, and the co-owner of both of them is West Wind Stables and Mark Druman. So how would you like to have the top 2 favorites coming in? And for those who don't know, West Wind Stables is owned by Casey Coleman. So you won't see Casey's name in the program, but she races under the banner of West Wind Stables. So the entries aren't due until tomorrow at 10 a.m., but I think I told you off the air, it's always nice when owners call ahead and they buy $1,300 and $1,400 worth of ticket. I have a feeling they're coming if they're spending that much on additional tickets.
Or they just like to come to the Little Brown Jug and see you. But,
yeah.
But those are your top 2. Who else is in your top 5?
Yeah, Howland Hills was a horse that's New York bred, been racing exclusively in the New York Sire Stakes. I had him 5th, 6th, 5th, 4th, you know, and finally the last one I moved him up to 4th. That one won the final of the New York Sire Stakes. Travis Alexander trains that one. Matt Kakali, a driver who raced at Northfield Park for a number of years and now races mainly out of the Pocono Downs area, but that moved up to number 3. Captain Albano, oof. I was watching that Sire Stakes final, and I was like, okay, he's leading coming in the final turn, and then he went off stride, and that's never a good thing for the publicity guy. You know, you never want to see one of your top contenders the week, you know, the last start before the Jug have any issues, and made a break in stride and finished last, but one of his owners also recently purchased tickets, so that makes me feel a little bit better that Captain Albano will be here as well.
And then the next one, Captain Quarters. They've already said they publicly come out and said, we're coming to the Jug.
Well, I'll back up. Casey Coleman, we talked to her up at the North America Cup Father's Day weekend, and she won with Nijinsky that night. But before the race, we talked to her, and she goes, barring injury or illness, we'll be there with both of them. So as long as I keep seeing those horses' names in the entry sheets, I felt confident she would bring both of them. But Captain's Quarters, Captain Treacherous, been racing mostly in Canada, but Herbert Holland's the trainer. Jody Jamieson, who won with Tell All back in the early 2000s, is his regular pilot, so I wouldn't know otherwise. But so we're looking forward to having. Yeah, the Twitter and Facebook has changed everything in the publicity game. You don't get on the phone and call anything. You see what they tweet or X out or whatever now.
Any Ohio breds?
We're not expecting any. Dr. Ian Moore up at the North America Cup has Clever Cody, and he said he also has an Ontario bred. He told us then that his owners were absolutely chomping at the bit to have Jug horses, so we were expecting Clever Cody back in June, but then he had a little lull there in the late July, early August, so I'm pretty sure that one's now going to go in the Ohio Breeders' Championship.
So you will not know until
10 a.m. tomorrow.
10 a.m. tomorrow. Yep. Does anybody make calls going, hey, you coming? Are you thinking about it, just to kind of get an idea?
Yeah, I mean, I took this role from Tom White a great publicist. But I always told Tom, there's two things I can't control: the weather and who's going to enter. I don't want to badger folks. We use Twitter to, every time they win one of the legs or, a prep race, so I always tweet out, we hope to see you in September, just to remind them, hey, they're eligible. So I put together a little banner ad. So, when Clever Cody won at Scioto Downs a couple weeks ago, we put out there, congratulations, we hope to see you in Delaware on this date. And we put, this horse is a jug eligible. So just little things that we do, just try to remember. And we'll send emails out just to remind trainers that, hey, don't forget, there's 10 days between us and your next race, so that might be a good opportunity. So we put friendly reminders out. We don't pressure anybody.
You are the hardest working man here at the Little Brown Jug. You may not say you are, but we know you are. Do you have time to enjoy it?
That's a great question. I always say I have an extreme amount of fun when I go to Lexington next week or the week after. And I said, because I don't care if the internet works. I don't care who's presenting the trophy. I don't care if it's blistering hot. I drink a beer and I watch the races. And I mean, it's fun. I mean, it's in your blood and you enjoy every moment of it. But, doing this job has made me respect and what other people do. I said I would never ask for a media credential 2 days before an event ever again. Ask me weeks before an event, I'll be glad to give them to you. But people show up at your desk and say, "Where's my credential?" And I said, "You didn't tell me you were coming." Things like that obviously get on your nerves a little bit. But you roll with the punches and you do the best you can and hope everyone has a good time.
When was your first jug?
1981. My father, if you look at the grandstand, you'll notice that there was an edition built. 1981 was the first year, so we had the first box of the 81 edition, box 435. So not that I remember. I mean, I haven't sat in that box in 15, 20 years, but I still remember the number. But, that was my first year, was 1981, and that was the infamous Fan Hanover, and that's when John Campbell was involved with Armbro Wolf and was involved in the accident and the elimination. Shelley Goudreau was also in there. And so there was an accident in the second heat and an accident in the elimination, which, unfortunately happened all in the same day. But the Philly Fan Hanover won.
What is your most memorable Little Brown Jug?
People ask me all the time, what are your three favorite jugs? And I always start out, I'm going to put these in no particular order. Well, the first two I won't put in any particular order. Fake Left, the year he beat Western Hanover. I mean, you couldn't write a weirder script. Mickey McNichol was scheduled to race Fake Left. Fake Left had been on the Grand Circuit, raced at Springfield, DuQuoin, Indianapolis. So he was working out west. Western Hanover was working out east. He raced at the Meadowlands Pace and the PA Sires and things like that. Well, Western Hanover was trained by Gene Regal, and if he won the jug, he would have won the Triple Crown, and that was something that Gene desperately wanted. And a few races before, Mickey McNichol was involved in an accident. Not really. His bike, before the quick hitch, his bike came loose, so his bike literally leaned back and his forks of his sulky went up. He went on the track. They took him as a precaution to Grady. George Schulte, the trainer, had to find a replacement, and there's Hall of Famer Ron Waples standing there. He says, "Ron, do you have something in the jug?" He goes, "No." He goes, "You do now." And then, they raced 3 heats, and I think it was a head, and a nose. They raced 3 times, and the combined margin of victory was 2 feet. And to me, that was always – and then the very next year, Gene Regal comes back and wins with Life Sign. So there was so much drama in 92. As a publicity guy, wiggle it, jiggle it, it couldn't have been any better. You had a great name. We promoted the heck out of it. TV stations were covering it because just of the name. And when they were coming down the final turn, I was like, well, he's not going to win. But then he kept coming and coming. And sitting where I sit in the press box, you're not right on the finish line. And, I'm like, oh, my God, what a great race. And I can't believe he came up short. And then Roger Houston says it was shame that Lost for Words had to lose. And I said, well, he didn't win? Because where I'm sitting, he won. So, obviously, Montrell Teague and George Teague and Clyde Francis and Big Mike Taylor, I mean, they were so hospitable. They were inviting people in. I mean, they just did an absolute great job. And if you remember, the next year we brought Big Bad John or Wiggle It, Jiggle It back. And, they were signing autographs. And it was just great because they went out of their way to help us, and thank gosh it won.
Well, that's great. Jay, thank you as always for kicking off our 5 days in Delaware, and I know you're a busy man.
By Thursday, we'll be sick of looking at each other, right?
That we will be. So I want to thank Jay Wolf. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Make sure you join us at 12:40 today for Countdown to Post Time, and we will kick off the first race card here at Delaware. And tomorrow on Trackside Live, we will be joined by the two leading point getters in the Signature Series, Steve Bateson and Surfing in the Canyon, and John Koneski and his trotter, Stony Ridgetop. They will be here to talk about the Signature Series, fair racing, and the state of racing in the Buckeye State. We hope you'll join us for that. So until 12:40, for Jay Wolf, Matt Clark, I'm Frank Froz. We'll see you then. Goodbye.
This has been Trackside Live. Trackside Live is presented by the Ohio State Veterinary Medical Center. Trackside Live is a production of the Ohio Harness Horsemen's Association.